Well, good morning to you and welcome to my latest video all about my novel writing or novel editing process. Here, if you've seen my previous videos, this will look familiar. This is where I have broken down each of the acts that form part of my novel. So this one is Act 1. Let's just zoom in a little bit. So here is Act 1. Here is Act 2, Part 1. Here is Act 2, Part 2. And finally we have Act 3. And I have divided my novel up like this because I have been inspired by Sarah Cannon of Heart Breathing on YouTube. Heart Breathings, I think, on YouTube, and she has these sheets that you can download from her website where you break down Act 1, Act 2 Part 1, Act 2 Part 2 and Act 3, and that's what I've been doing. And then I translated all these sort of separate subheadings into the plot, scene, characters, purpose of scene and stuff like that, that forms part of each act. In my last video, I had just finished Act 3 and I spoke about the next thing that I would like to do to get everything straight in my head before I start the rewrite is to do a chapter by chapter breakdown. And then I said that I was going to start in the middle of the novel, probably around chapter 11. I just want to work out what happens in each chapter. It's basically so I'm not writing from the beginning again. I want to write different chapters at different times because I feel the latter half of the novel is the weakest. I've worked on the first half for a very long time, so I want to give a lot more thought to the latter half, which will then feed back into the first half where I put in little plot points that will occur later on in the novel. I hope that makes sense. I know what I mean. But so essentially that's where I am now. I've got a nice big blank page here and I'm basically going to do these chapters in rough. I'm giving myself permission to make a mess. Right here I'm doing it nice and big so I can see exactly what I want to do for each chapter, and also it makes it easier for you to see as well on the camera. Okay, it's time to crack on. I'm not quite sure. I feel suddenly my head's gone blank. I don't quite know how to start this. I think what I need to do is get my phone and set the timer for 10 minutes and basically say, right, Helen, just do what you can in 10 minutes and see where you are from there. And this page can be as rough as you like. It does not matter. And then if needs be, I'll use another page and another page just to kind of get it all straight in my head. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I feel really, really scared. Do you ever feel scared when you're just about to start? Especially when you've had a little bit of a break in between. When I'm faced with a blank page, a good way to start is by just putting the title, and then it just doesn't seem so daunting. Okay, that's everything that I've got from my acts and scenes. Now I want to break the chapters down even further. And what I'm probably going to do as well for this is look at what I've written in my previous draft and make sure that the bits that I want to include are included in there. There's lots of holes, there's lots of gaps between moments, because here, chapter 20, I've got her 12-month maternity leave coming to an end, but the last time I mention a time frame is here, where it's 4 weeks after the birth, and then all of a sudden 11 months have gone past. So I need to make sure that sense of time's in there and have more, what do you call it when you have a baby? Milestones are mentioned. In fact, I'll write that down. Right, hello, welcome back. It's Tuesday today, the day after what I did on the chapter breakdown on here yesterday. And well, I was driving to school yesterday to do the pickup and I had a thought that, well, two thoughts. One, that I had a massive crisis of confidence with what I'm doing here, as in filming to camera and then putting it on social media. So that was the first one. I thought, oh, people will probably be laughing at me. So that's where I am now. And the second thought was how I'm going to get my head around all the different plot strands that are going to sort of see themselves throughout the book. And on my latest Instagram post, I put how I was going to develop all the different plot elements and relationships. I'm thinking I need to do a grid, a bit of order and method, as Poirot would say, to calm the chaos in my head. So that's what I'm going to do this morning. I am going to create a grid, because at the moment, even though I have all the different acts and know the overall feeling of what's going to be happening in each section of the novel, and I have all my sheets here that feeds into this, and then I have my chapter breakdown, but there's more to it than that. There's a lot more to it than that. Yes, I want to create a grid system, and I'm going to put the chapters down the side, and then along the top I'm going to have different elements that apply themselves to different parts of the novel, and whether that element is in that chapter. I'll give it a tick and maybe expand on it with a little bit of detail. And I think this is what I've been working towards with all this stuff. That is interesting. If you look at it as a whole, you think, yeah, there's a lot of ticks there. But as a lot of the novel is about Eve's relationships with her nana and her mother, and you look down this column, there's a tick there, and a tick there, and a tick here, but that's just when she's thought about. So in the whole second half of the novel, she only appears twice. Her mother, 1, 2, 3, 4, appears 4 times. David, her husband, appears once. Very interesting. So there's a lot of gaps. As I thought, now I'm going to do chapters 1 to 10. done my 2 grids and now I'm thinking what's next. If this has shown me anything at all, it is that there are lots of gaps, and I'm now going to go through. I know I just looked in the screen and it does look a little bit dark, but what I'm now going to do, go through previous drafts and see if I can make it more fluid. And Rachel Lucas on Instagram has just said on my post, on today's post, that she has just bought herself some index cards to start book 10, her book 10. And I said that when we went on a writing retreat together, I went into Rachel's room and she had index cards all over the floor as she was piecing together the novel, like a jigsaw, I guess. And it's made me think, I don't know if that's going to be useful for me, but it might be, as I add bits between these chapters. So if I had 25 index cards, because I've got 25 chapters here, and then added bits, added all the other bits in between, and maybe put them up on my wall or on the floor, and then I can add things in, especially where I can see that there are gaps. And even if it's just what's her relationship with her nana here, and put that in between some of these chapters. It's gone very dark because of this splash of sunlight here. So I'm going to finish off here for now, and I'm going to get myself another cup of coffee, and then, yeah, I think I might get the index cards out and start adding bits in, and do index cards for this, like I say, for these 25, and then start putting other bits in to make it flow better. I think I'm going to leave it there for this video. I'll just summarise what I have done, if I can get it straight in my head. Okay, so I've got my 4 acts here. Act 1, Act 2 Part 1, Act 2 Part 2 and Act 3. And I've used what happens there to create chapter breakdown, and I've got myself 25 chapters, made some points from that already, and then I've done a grid, oh, wrong way around, so chapters 1 to 10 are here, and along the top I have ticked where it mentions particular elements or plot or a relationship, an important point that's going to be threaded throughout the novel. So that's gone across the top, and already, as I've said in a previous clip, I have discovered that even though Eve's nana is a crucial part of the novel, I only have her, let's have a look, in 2 chapters in the first half of the novel. Although where she's mentioned here, that's just talked about, and then here 1, 2, and then sort of talked about there. That needs expanding on a lot. And also Eve's relationship with her mother, which is another central point or theme to the novel, also needs to be built up. And her relationship with her husband needs to be built up. So many more other things. I think the only one that I have threaded through quite well so far is the depression one and the post-traumatic stress one. The next part will involve these, which is my index cards, and all I have literally done is divided them up by chapter, and then in the next video about my novel that I do, I am going to fill these out according to what's in my book here, what's in here, and also what is in previous drafts. It's time to dig those out and to start making notes of key elements. And there's one particular element that I'm still not decided as to whether to put in or not, and that is to do with Eve and her grandma. And Eve's grandma moves into a kind of home for retired people, as well as Eve feeling low because of her massive life change. Her grandma is also feeling low because of her massive life change and what Eve will do about that. And there's a lot to think about there. And I know in my draft, when I just wrote the draft as a, you know, fly by the seat of my pants draft, I inserted the theme of chickens. This was because I read an article about older people having chickens and it actually helping. I think it was helping with Alzheimer's, though I can't be too sure. I need to dig out that article again. That's in my research pile somewhere. And whether I'm going to include that as part of my novel, I think I'd like to, and it will be another thread to run through. So anyway, that's where we are now. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this interesting. Like I say, I had a bit of a crisis of doubt yesterday when I thought everybody would be laughing at my process. So I hope you're not. I hope you're finding it interesting, even if it's not something that you would do yourself, or you write your books or structure your novels or edit your novel in a completely different way. This is just the way I feel I need to do it. Okay, I'm signing off now. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon for another video. Bye. Bye.